Good morning, boys and girls. My name is Miss Cartessa, and I am your host. This is your teacher, Miss Hillary. Today we will learn all about how farmers care for the animals on a farm.
Today's lesson is titled With a Moo Moo Here. I wonder what we're going to be learning about today. By the end of today's lesson, we will be able to identify cows, bulls, and calves and the sounds that they make, identify the needs of cows. We will be able to explain how cows are milked and how milk goes from farm to the home. And lastly, we will identify the food that comes from cows. Let's go ahead and get started. So, before we dive into our lesson about cows, we're going to talk about what we learned in our lesson with Miss Cartessa. We learned that the barn is used for shelter and to store tools and hay. We learned that the animals are fed crops from the farm. We learned that the farmer uses tools like a pitchfork, silo, and a tractor. And lastly, we learned that cows, pigs, sheep, chickens, and dogs are animals that live on a farm.
So boys and girls, join me in singing Old MacDonald Had a Farm, the cow verse. Old MacDonald had a farm, E-I-E-I-O, and on that farm he had a cow, E-I-E-I-O, with a moo-moo here and a moo-moo there, here a moo, there a moo, everywhere a moo-moo. Old MacDonald had a farm, E-I-E-I-O.
Thanks, Miss Cartessa. Because of the verse that you just sang, I already have something that we know about cows. Cows say moo. Miss Cartessa, what is something that you know about cows?
I know that cows eat grass.
Wow, they sure do. Is there anything else that you know about cows?
I know that milk comes from cows.
Great job. So now that we've talked about some things that we know about cows, let's think about some things that we're wondering, some questions that we have. How about you? What are some things that you know about cows? Have you seen a cow before? Do you know what it looks like? Miss Cartessa, how about you? What are you wondering about cows?
I wonder what other food comes from cows.
Ooh, we will definitely learn about that today. What else?
I also wonder what are the needs of the baby cow.
Ooh, what are the needs of the baby cow? What else are you wondering?
What are the needs of a cow?
Great. And last,
How are the cows milked?
I'm looking forward to learning about that too. All right. Before we jump into our lesson, we are going to review a few vocabulary words. The first vocabulary word we're going to review is herd. Cows live in a herd. Say the word herd with me 3 times. Herd, herd, herd. Great job. A herd is a group of animals that eat and travel together. Listen to herd in this sentence. The farmer rounded up his herd into the barn to go to sleep at night. Do you think herd means a few of the same animals, or does it mean many of the same animals? Think about it and answer the question in a complete sentence using the word herd. Miss Cartessa, do you think herd means a few of the same animals or many of the same animals?
I think a herd is many of the same animals.
Great job. And if we see on our picture over here, we have a herd of cows. The next vocabulary word we're going to review is produces. Say produces with me 3 times. Produces, produces, produces. When we produce something, we are making, creating, or growing something. As you can see in this picture, a cow produces milk. A bee produces honey. Miss Cartessa's class produces beautiful paintings. What is something that you have created, made, or grown? Answer in a complete sentence and use the word produces. Miss Cartessa, what is something that you have produced?
I have produced vegetables in my garden.
Wow, and you have a garden? That's wonderful. I'm sure those vegetables are delicious. Great. Now we are ready to begin our read aloud about cows. As we go through the text, I want you to be thinking about new interesting facts that you are learning about cows. I have finished my jobs for the day, and I am ready to take you on a farm tour. Let's start over at my neighbor Farmer Brown's place. Cattle are some of the first animals people think of when they think of farms. This is actually my neighbor's herd of cattle. I only have a few cows on my farm, but my neighbor has a whole herd. Female or mother cattle are called cows. You might not be able to tell at first glance, but most of the cattle in this picture are cows or female cattle. Like most farm animals, cows spend most of the day standing around eating. That is fine. In fact, that's great. That is exactly what farmers want cows to do. The more the cows eat, the better. Baby cattle are called calves. A calf looks like its mother, only smaller. Cows usually give birth to one calf each year. Like all mammals, this mother cow produces milk inside her body. The calf feeds on the milk each day until it is old enough to eat grass and other types of feed. If you look closely at the cow in this picture, you will notice a large pouch on her belly near her hind legs. This is the cow's udder, where she produces and stores milk. The cow's udder has 4 teats. Her calf will suck on one of those teats and drink milk when it is hungry. Sometimes the mother cow is not able to produce enough milk for her calf. If that happens, the farmer will feed the calf milk from a bottle. Males or father cattle are called bulls. They are usually larger than cows. Bulls do not produce milk. A farmer has many cows, but usually only 1 or 2 bulls. Even an old, experienced farmer like me needs to be careful around the bull because it can be unpredictable. Cattle spend most of their time out in the fields or pasture grazing on fresh green grass. Because grass isn't always available, some farmers grow extra fields of grass, alfalfa, and other grains that they can turn into hay. Hay is dried grass that cows and other farm animals can eat when there is not enough grass growing in the pasture. Once the plants in these extra fields are fully grown, the farmer pulls a machine with his tractor to mow it down. Then he uses another machine to gather it up and make hay bales. Farmers can store the bales of hay in the field or bring them into the barn to keep them nice and dry. That way, they will be ready for cattle to eat in the winter, and when the weather is cold and there is not as much grass for grazing in the fields. Some farmers also give cows feed made from corn. And I don't mean corn on the cob, The corn people eat is called sweet corn and is different from what most farmers grow, which is called field corn. Field corn has many uses. It can be used for animal feed and as an ingredient in many foods we eat. Calves aren't the only ones who drink cow's milk. People drink it too. I am sure a lot of you drink milk every day. Milk is also used to make ice cream as well as many other dairy products, including cheese, butter, and yogurt. So, cow's milk is also important to people. That is why there are dairy farms. People get a cow's milk by milking the cow. To milk the cow, this girl squeezes a teat on the udder and gives it a good strong tug. With each tug, a little more milk squirts out into the bucket. It will take her a while to fill the bucket, and by the time she is done, her hands and arms will probably be sore and tired, unless she does this sort of work a lot, in which case she will be used to it. On modern dairy farms, machines are used to milk the cows. The farmer hooks the hoses up to the udders, but then the machines do the work of pumping milk out of the udders. On a dairy farm, the building where the cows are milked is called the milking parlor. The dairy farmer collects fresh milk from his cows twice each day, and a big truck comes to the dairy farm and collects all the milk once every 2 days. Often, the milk will go to a bottling factory and then it will be sold to a grocery store and may eventually end up in your refrigerator at home. Not all cows are dairy cows. Some farmers raise beef cattle. Beef is the word for cow meat. Roast beef, steaks, hamburgers, and beef stew are all beef products. All right, what a great read aloud. Let's dive into some questions, and Ms. Cartessa is going to help us as we answer them. So the first question is, what is the main topic of today's lesson?
The main topic of today's lesson was cows.
Great job. Okay, so now let's review the names of the different types of cattle. What is a female cattle called?
A female cattle is called a cow.
Great job. How about a male cattle?
A male cattle is called a bull.
And a baby cattle, what is that called?
A baby cattle is called a calf.
Great job. All right, why does a cow have an udder?
A cow has an udder to hold the milk it produces.
And how do cattle get the food that they need?
The cattle they eat grass, or the farmer may feed them hay or feed.
Great job. How do calves get the food that they need?
The calves will either drink the milk from their mother, or the farmer will feed them.
And in the story, they mentioned that sometimes a farmer will even feed a bottle of milk to the baby calf. Why do farmers raise cattle?
The farmers raise cattle for dairy and beef products.
Ooh. What foods or drinks do people use that come from cattle?
I know I use ice cream, cheese, milk, and beef.
Ooh, I'm getting hungry. What is your favorite food that comes from a cow, Miss Cartessa?
Of course, the beef that makes hamburgers,
Ooh.
my favorite.
My favorite food that comes from cows is ice cream. How about you? What is your favorite food that comes from cows? Last question. What's the most interesting fact that you learned about cows today? Tell somebody at home. Miss Cartessa, how about you? What's the most interesting fact that you learned today?
The most interesting fact I learned is that a female cattle is called a cow, the male cattle is called a bull, and the baby cattle is called a calf.
That's awesome. I know what was interesting to me was learning how the milk gets from the farm to the supermarket and then our homes. Great. Now, when we were listening to our read aloud today, we heard an important word. Listen to this sentence. Cows spend most of their time out in the field or pasture, grazing on the fresh green grass. Say the word grazing with me 3 times. Grazing, grazing, grazing. If an animal is grazing, it is moving around a field of grass and is eating grass and other plants. Listen to my sentence. I looked out in the backyard and saw a deer grazing in the backyard. Have you ever seen a deer in your backyard, Miss Cartessa?
Yes.
Yes, and was it grazing?
Yes.
Yes. Have you ever seen a deer graze before or another animal grazing? If you have, say so in a complete sentence using the word grazing. Great job. Now we're going to do an activity. Miss Cartessa is going to help me out. I am going to show you a picture and I'm going to say a sentence. If the animal is grazing, you will say the blank is grazing. If the animal is not grazing, you will say the blank is not grazing. You ready? So here is our first picture, and it says, the cow is eating the fresh green grass.
The cow is grazing.
Great job. Let's look at this one. The deer wanders away from its mother while eating grass.
The deer is grazing.
Awesome, it sure is. Let's look at this one. The bull is drinking water from the river.
The bull is grazing. The bull is not grazing.
Let's look at this one. The sheep are eating grass behind the barn.
The sheep are grazing.
Great job. And last one. The cow drinks milk from its mother.
The cow is not grazing.
Great job. It is not grazing. All right, so we have learned so much about cows today. So let's talk about it. Miss Cartessa, help us out. What is something that you learned today?
I learned that cows can be milked by squeezing the udder.
That's right. What is something else that you learned today?
I learned that ice cream, cheese, beef, and milk come from cows.
They sure do. What else?
I learned that baby cows need milk.
Yes, and we learned that they get it both from their mother, but they can also get it from the farmer. And last thing, what's one more thing that you learned?
I learned that cows need grass, a big field, water, and hay.
That's right. And what do they do in that big field, Miss Cartessa?
They graze.
They graze. Excellent. Well, we learned so much about cows today. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for joining us today. All rights and credits from this lesson belong to Core Knowledge Language Arts. We would like to thank them publicly for sharing these materials.
Use what you have learned today. Go tell someone at home about what you learned about cows. If you are interested in reading more about cows, please check out these books from your local library or online. Thanks for joining us today, and we will see you next time.